Hello and welcome to what could potentially turn out to be the longest video I have ever made. We are back on my astrology bullshit yet again. And I have no regrets. This time last year I started and never finished a series about astrology. It was originally called Zodiac Killer, but I felt that wasn't getting the whole astrology message across, so I changed it to Astrology for Basic Hoes, much to the chagrin of everybody that knows me. And even though I put a lot of work into it and enjoyed making it, it was a flop. So I'm back to give a one-off crash course with actual real-life subtitles because I know I will talk too fast. Astrology is the study, or if you're a boring fucking cynic, the pseudoscience of how the celestial bodies affect events here on Earth. It's easily debunked, but it's a lot of fun and it gives me a weird sense of security, so fight me. Today I'm going to teach you about the three main parts of astrology: the planets, the signs, and the houses. As Catherine Merlin puts it in her book Character and Fate, the Psychology of the Birth Chart, which I will be using for a lot of the material of this video, the planets symbolize energy, the signs the way the energy acts, and the houses the specific aspects of life the energy affects. The sign in question is how the planet in question manifests in your life, and the house in question is the area of life where there is an emphasis of that manifestation. For example, in my chart, Venus is in Leo in the 4th house. Venus is a planet that's associated with aesthetics. Leo is a sign that symbolizes pride and confidence, and the 4th house is often called the house of the home. So a way that I might translate this placement into plain English is that I take a lot of pride in the way that my home looks. Okay, actual teaching time. Cool. First off, the planets. The most important planets in astrology are the luminaries, which is just a collective term for the sun and the moon. The sun is the center of the solar system, and as a result, it's the center of our personality. It rules the sense of self and the ego, and is the source of all conscious thought. On the other hand, the unconscious mind is ruled by the moon. The moon is emotional energy and involuntary reactions, and it manifests largely through projection onto other people. Next up are the innermost planets, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, which collectively are known as the personal planets. This is because, discounting Earth, these are the three closest planets to the sun, and therefore they have an effect on the human being as an individual as opposed to a member of a larger group, as the later planets might do. Mercury is the planet of the mind. It rules communication and rational thought processes, and is often considered to be the connection between the conscious sun and the unconscious moon. Venus and Mars then are both fundamentally planets of desire that work opposite one another in order to create some semblance of balance. Venus is the essence of attraction. It's how we pull objects of desire towards us. It also rules femininity, creative endeavors, our higher ideals, and it's a planet that is to do with refinement. Mars, on the other hand, contrasts that refinement and is the planet of primal urges. It's how we reach out and grab the things that we want. That sounds predatory. I promise it's not. It rules masculinity, instincts, physicality, and how we handle our aggression. As I've alluded to already, and as you probably know, the further away a planet is from the sun, the longer its orbit becomes. As a result, the further out a planet is, the longer they take to rotate through the zodiac, which then leads to their manifestation in a certain sign being more generational. This phenomenon begins to come into our peripheral vision as we reach another pair of opposing planets, Jupiter and Saturn. Together, these two planets form a person's conscience, how they react to their own decisions and the decisions of other people. Jupiter is the yes-saying side of the conscience. It's positive and benevolent, and it's a planet that shows how a person grows and expands their horizons. Saturn then is the naysayer in our minds. It stands for discipline and structure, and it's the inner judge that plants seeds of doubt in our minds. I said in our minds twice. The last three planets are the generational planets. Their orbits are so wide that they take years to travel between one sign and another. And so, as I've said already, their energy in one particular sign affects a large swathe of people born around the same time. Uranus is sometimes seen as the higher octave of Mercury. It's the planet of change, of communication, and individuality within a large society. In real-life terms, Uranus denotes how a generation will create progress in their time, and what effect that progress has. Neptune then is the higher octave of Venus that moves past Venus's love for the subject to compassion for the object. It rules dreams and illusions, inspiration, and the sacrifice of the self to become part of the whole. Finally, Pluto, the higher octave of Mars and a planet of transformation. It's about rebirth, renewal, as well as power struggles and subconscious thoughts. Of course, there are other bits of space debris like Chiron and Lilith, and imaginary points in the sky like the North Node that are also considered quite major, but let's not complicate things here. And now, the signs. There are 12 signs, and 2 ways to categorize them: modes and elements. First off, the modes. There are 3 of them: cardinality, fixity, and mutability. Cardinal signs are extroverted, active, and require constant external stimulation. That sounds disgusting. Fixed signs are introverted, stable, and need to think before acting. And mutable signs are somewhat ambiverted, adaptable, and seek experience for experience's sake. The four elements then are fire, earth, air, and water. Fire is assertive, energetic, and intuitive, but also volatile and rash. Earth is practical, grounded, and sensual, but can be cynical and shallow. Air is cerebral, communicative, and perceptive, but also detached and passive. And water is receptive, emotional, and caring, but can be irrational and oversensitive. The three modes and the four elements then overlap to create 12 distinct personalities, and BAM! The signs. Speaking of which, Aries is the cardinal fire sign, and it's ruled by Mars. It is assertive, competitive, and headstrong, and has an innate sense of worth. Taurus is the Venus-ruled fixed earth sign. It's tenacious, grounded, and materialistic, and seeks reassurance through ownership. The mutable air sign is Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury. It's observant, cerebral, and changeable, and its motives are always purely intellectual. Next up is moon-ruled Cancer, which is the cardinal water sign. Cancer is maternal, reflective, and defensive, and is considered the seat of the emotions. Leo is the fixed fire sign, and it is ruled by the sun. It's bright, confident, and noble, and has an inherent desire to be noticed. Next, ruled by Mercury, Virgo, the mutable earth sign. Virgo is precise, conscientious, and nervous, and is driven to seek purity of all kinds. The cardinal air sign is Libra, and is ruled by Venus. It's diplomatic, gracious, and indecisive, and is focused on the idea of harmony. Scorpio is fixed water, and its ruling planet is Pluto. Scorpio is impulsive, analytical, and secretive, and has the innate ability to see the motives of other people. Jupiter rules Sagittarius is next, and it's the mutable fire sign. It's philosophical, optimistic, and rootless, and often seems to be on some kind of lifelong quest. Capricorn is the cardinal earth sign, and it is ruled by Saturn. It's disciplined, ambitious, and unforgiving, and has a compulsion to achieve worldly success. The penultimate sign, Aquarius, is the fixed air sign, and it's ruled by Uranus. It's idealistic, humanitarian, and uncompromising, and it's the sign of breaking old forms. And finally, Pisces, the Neptune-ruled mutable water sign. It's poetic, compassionate, and escapist, and is often given to self-sacrifice. And though we are finished the signs, there is no time to take a breath, because next we have the houses. Throughout the history of astrology, there have been a lot of different systems that define the houses in different ways. The way that I use, and the way that a lot of Western astrologers use, is called the Placidus house system. The Placidus system accounts for latitude, longitude, and time to give what can only be described as an accurate, but also incredibly wonky looking birth chart. The house system is the part of the chart that is arguably the most affected by your exact time of birth, and so if you don't know it, I am so sorry. Please forgive me. Also, top tip, if you have trouble remembering the symbolism of each of the houses, they all correspond to a zodiac sign of the same number. So the first house corresponds to Aries, and so on. There are 4 points in the house system that are incredibly important in the birth chart. The ascendant, the nadir, the descendant, and the midheaven are the cusps of the 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th houses, respectively. Arguably the most important is the ascendant, which is considered as vital, if not more so, than the sun and the moon. The ascendant is the first impression a person gives. It's their outlook on life, and also to some degree it can affect their appearance and dress sense. The descendant is very much its opposite, and for the most part it's considered to be the representation of what somebody's soulmate might be. The other axis is the nadir and the midheaven, or the 4th and 10th house cusps. The midheaven is your public life, what your career might be, and it's often considered to be more important than its opposite, which is your private life, what you do and how you react when nobody else is looking. Anyway, the first house itself is the house of identity. It's the impression that we make upon others, and also the impression that experience makes upon us. The second house represents finance, possessions, as well as what we value, and for some reason, science. The third house as a whole is the house of communications. It represents siblings, neighbours, short trips, as well as your environment, especially as a child. The fourth house is family values, the parents, old age, and your home life. The fifth house represents children, entertainment, creativity, and expression. The sixth is health, work, service, and daily life. The seventh house is relationships, marriage, and how one might project onto other people. The eighth is sex, death, inheritance, and intimate relationships. The ninth is the house of expanding awareness. It represents higher education, long-distance travel, philosophy, and religion. The 10th is authority, reality, ambitions, and worldly ideals. The 11th is visions, hopes and dreams, as well as friendships and the relationship to society. And lastly, the 12th is karma, collectivity, suffering, and what lies beneath the surface. And like that, we've reached the end. Hopefully I have imparted my wisdom about the building blocks that will help you to understand not only your chart, but everybody else's chart that will listen to you rant about how many fucking planets are in retrograde at the moment. There's like fucking 6. And I know I'm not the clearest explainer in the world, so if you have any questions about what I've said here today, or something that I haven't actually talked about in this video, please don't hesitate to comment on this video, or DM me on Twitter or Instagram, or even slide into my Curious Cat if you don't really feel like revealing who you are as a person. I will try my best to answer your queries. I am not a professional. So if you thought this video was worth your time, please give it a like. If you aren't already subscribed, please do that, whether you like it or not. I'd like to reach 1,000 subscribers. That would be super cool. And also, if you want to be notified every Monday at 4 PM GMT that I have uploaded a video, click the notification bell. And as always, my social media links are in the down bar. My song of the week is the brand new single by Litany. It's called Call On Me. It's a fantastic 90s R&B inspired alt pop track, and I just love Litany so much. The link to my Songs of the Week playlist is also in the down bar, but while you are on my Spotify, you should check out my other playlists. I have great taste in music, I know. Okay, I'll see you next week for what I can only hope to be a less intellectually taxing video. Goodbye.